Ignazio Visco has joined me, the Governor of the Bank of Italy. Sir, welcome. Very nice to have you with us on the programme this morning. Can you shed some clarification and some light on this BMPS story? Who knew what and when?
Well, it is clearly under investigation. So everything that one can say is that this is an event that clearly has behind individual responsibilities which have to be ascertained and then clearly considered by the judiciary. The Bank of Italy is obviously collaborating with the judiciary on the technical issues. As far as the stability of the bank, there is no question the bank is stable.
Mario Monti, though, came here and it seemed to me anyway, gave the impression that this wasn't a surprise and that everybody should have been aware that this black hole existed in the accounts, but that doesn't seem quite my understanding of events.
No, I don't think that Mario Monti said this. He said that the situation of Monte dei Paschi di Siena was known and under careful consideration since a long time. As a matter of fact, we have been following the liquidity conditions of the bank, and in the EBA analysis on the risks and the need for further capitalization, we clearly pointed out that there was a need of further capitalization and the bank was not able to provide it with its own means, and then the issue of the loan from the state came in. So this is a process that we are considering under with a lot of care in the last months, 12, 15 months, and this is also what led to the change in the management, the top management of the bank, which clearly had was the result of pressure and careful consideration on the part of supervisors.
What you say notwithstanding, there does seem to have been some surprise from the market on the size of the loss and how it's emerged into public light. Now, people, I think, are starting to ask questions as well about Mario Draghi. Did he know? And when did he know? And if he knew, why didn't he tell anybody?
No, but one thing is the two operations that are under investigation, and the other is the connection between the two, which only came to be known in the late months of this year, of last year.
So you think it's wrong to be asking about Mario Draghi's position with regard to this?
It's wrong about asking about the lack of supervision on the part of the Bank of Italy. The Bank of Italy has been very careful supervising.
My understanding was I thought you'd said that you hadn't seen some of the paperwork previously. I've seen some of the comments that have been made, that you hadn't seen some of the paperwork, that it had been hidden from you.
Correct.
Well, that seems a very strange state of affairs, that you in your position weren't made aware. Was the government deliberately trying to conceal information?
No, it's not an issue of the government. It's an issue of the bank and the management of the bank. You know,
just the bank?
Just the bank.
Nobody in the government?
No, only the bank. The top management of the bank clearly, apparently, from the papers that we understand and are under consideration now, is still under consideration, so we cannot talk much more on of this because there is a judge which is considering this. The top management of the bank probably had made these two operations jointly, and in that case a loss would have emerged. But since they were disjoint, a loss did not emerge.
So you wouldn't expect this issue to mushroom and become a factor in the upcoming elections?
It would be a pity because really there is nothing other than pursue the responsibilities that are going to be well identified.
Is it possible that somebody may go to prison over this?
I don't know.
But you understand what possible sanctions are under Italian law?
If there is obstruction to the supervisor activity, this is strictly sanctioned, and obviously we also sanction from a supervisory point of view. We have already sanctioned the bank management for the inappropriate treatment, organization of the liquidity that they need.
I don't want to get stuck on this issue because there are many things that we'd love to talk to you about. Clearly, non-performing loans remain an issue for the Italian banking sector, and I'd just like to find out from you whether you are comfortable with current capital levels across the banking system. Do any of these banks need to raise their NPL coverage ratios at this point, and what might the implications of that be?
Well, first of all, the system is wide and there are many banks. Secondly, the capitalization overall is fine. Thirdly, on the non-performing loans, they are not due to particular markets or sectors which are under turmoil. They are because of the non-performing of the economy and the end the non-performing of the loans. The issue here is whether the bank can provide sufficiently against them. We have been investigating this carefully bank by bank. We will come out with this. Two things have to be understood. The first is that our definition of bad loans is much wider than many others, and this means that we are much more severe, and the overall provision is high. It might be increased over time if needed. We may ask to be increased if needed dynamically. There is nothing to be concerned about now.
Do you believe that Italy has turned the corner in its banking system, and that markets that are now repricing and taking on more risk are doing so appropriately, or should we be concerned about excess complacency?
No, but there is no complacency on the part of the banking system. The banking system has gone hand in hand with the sovereign risk. The issue was really the around less than 10% assets that are in government bonds in the banking system, which had a very low price because of the sovereign risk. Clearly, the combined efforts on European governance of the structural reforms and budget adjustment on the government side, which have to continue, by the way, and the decisions by the General Council of the ECB to intervene with these OMT, outright money transaction program, have all helped to reduce one component of the risk, sovereign risk, that was the redenomination risk. The other component, which is the risk on the Italian debt, has to be dealt with by the national policymakers. At the same time, the banks obviously have to be resilient. I'm pretty confident on that.
I believe the IMF has been in town having a look at the system. What did they tell you?
Well, the IMF is in town because we asked them to come in this FSAP program, which is a very standard thing. We are working very closely with them. There is a lot of collaboration, and we'll see. I cannot tell you now what they will say, and nor they have told me what is their assessment.
Understandably, you want to paint an improving picture of the financial economy in Italy, and more broadly give a sense that Italy is coming out of the crisis. I hate to come back to it, but MPS just throws another negative light on what is emerging. Is this going to be the last story we get about trading losses or hidden losses within the banking system?
Well, first of all, the banking system, the Italian banking system, is the system that has received the least aid from the state of all comparable systems in the world, not only in Europe. Secondly, there have been no substantial programs of the large banks. They have gone to the market. They are going back in the unsecured bond issuance. So the funding is very stable. There has been a reduction in wholesale funding, but that has been due to the sovereign risk. So there is nothing to be concerned on that. On the other hand, we have to be very vigilant. There might be consequences of the crisis, but these are the standard consequences of the banking system. That is, the loans in an economy which has difficulty to grow. So we have to concentrate on putting back on track the growth prospects of the country.
The investigation continues. I don't know much about how the process works in Italy, so perhaps you could help us out. When might we have transparency on exactly what took place?
Well, you have to talk to the judge on that. Obviously, it is in the hands of the judiciary. On our side, we are open to make any kind of further assessment and make it clear when to be asked by the authorities, public authorities, the parliament and others. There is nothing that has to be hidden on our side. But what the judge found in the behavior of individuals is not our guess.
Sir, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for giving us so much of your time this morning.
Okay.
Ignazio Visco, then, the Governor of the Bank of Italy.